I was very excited to see Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid, watching the Madrid derby, uh, and it did not disappoint. I think it was a really good match. I think it went down the way it was expected to go. As far as a competitive standpoint, having it to be a 1-1 draw, obviously Angel Correa goes ahead and puts in the tying, but um, there was a moment in the match that the game had to be stopped. And it was because of the Atletico Madrid ultras, the fans of Atletico Madrid, um, started harassing people. Um, it got really bad. It really got bad to the point where the referees stopped the match and actually had the players go to the locker rooms, because of how intense what was going on, which fans started throwing uh we're throwing we're throwing stuff at Thibaut Courtois, who was actually behind the supporters section for Atletico Madrid. Um, and so that was stopped. Some of the players were going up to the supporters section, trying to get them to stop. Um, and even Diego Simeone even trying to stop what was going on there. Um, and apparently this was a movement that was happening with that Atletico Madrid fans were actually planning on doing, because the plan was to essentially these fans they cover themselves with masks in a way so that way they could not be identified. um it's kind of, I don't really don't have the words to describe like what transpired, but essentially some Atletico Madrid fans, and I think it's obviously pointed towards uh kind of uh I think it was taking aim at like some of the fans that they have been getting a lot of jabs at from Vinicius Jr. probably be the specific one. Um but obviously, I think it definitely doesn't help uh with the fact that Vinicius Jr. has been very outspoken, which once again I do not. I'm not saying that Vinny needs to stop talking, because I think he needs to continue addressing the issues that he feels is going on with the league. But um, obviously, one of the big constant heckles that Vinicius receives are racial themed, and obviously he's now since then has been speaking a lot more on the racism that he gets received in matches. And people have made defenses like, well, look at your team. It's not, you're the, if Spain was racist, they would be directing shots at the other players, obviously Rodrigo, Militao, uh, to Shotami, Rodiger, but the all the black players that are in Real Madrid. But and I think there's also again kind of goes towards the antics of some of the things Vinicius does, like some of the time wasting that he conducts in. Um, and is he very vocal? Yes, he is. But um, the fact that like the route that some fan bases choose to go to try to get in the head of a player is by going through to racial slurs. I get making fun of somebody for little things, and when I say little things, like a funny picture that they posted that wasn't necessary, or their fashion sense or things like that. But when you start going towards race, and I would even go after sexuality, I think that that's where the line is drawn. And obviously the part of the home crowd advantage is to make the visiting team feel comfortable. And and I mean, there's to a point where there needs to be a limit. But I mean, he's not the only player to receive racial abuse. Nico Williams is another one that has mentioned that before. But essentially, these fans were, oh, they don't know what we look like, then they wouldn't uh they wouldn't be able to kick us out. But unfortunately, I think what this event happened, what this event ended up doing, instead of being this, I don't know, this thing that some of these Atletico Madrid fans thought was going to be the haha on you, it turned out to be, uh, I think the kick in the ass that La Liga needed to see, in some sense, because now we see the problem, and there needs to be some sort of punishment, and you can see like Atletico Madrid players trying to stop it because obviously if they cancel the match would have been immediately stopped, and it would have been a 3-0 victory for Real Madrid. Even though at the time it was 1-0 for Real Madrid. But because technically Atletico Madrid would have to have forfeited the match, it would have gone down as a 3-0 loss to Atletico Madrid. And I think that the Spanish Federation needs to look at that game and and truly need to make a statement. Um, we I'm not saying that it has stopped because obviously hooliganism is still a very much a thing across the game. But since the events that happened after the Atlas Querétaro game, it has gone pretty quiet. And I'm obviously once again this goes to the fact that maybe the media isn't covering as much. Maybe there is still hooliganism around Mexico, but obviously when they put the punishment down to Querétaro, where they were banned from the playoffs, even a year when they were actually playoff enough, it hadn't had enough points to be in the playoffs. They could not go into the tournament, so the teams that were below them were actually able to continue on. So they missed out on playoffs. They went a few actual a good amount of games without having fans in the stadium, and obviously it impacted Querétaro. And I think that if things are continuing to escalate, if we keep seeing more uh fans going in this route, and I mean we can even look at Liga. Liga, there was a good period where fans were just going insane to the point where they're storming the field, and obviously Ligue 1 stated what was needed to be done, and after that we haven't Ligue 1 has been pretty chill since then. Obviously once again we haven't really highlighted them because depending on how the coverage is done, but we haven't seen any incidents involving fans storming onto the field or fans being violent towards other fans or even players. So I think that when leagues make a strong stance and punish these clubs, the fans understand that what they do does impact the game. And I think that there needs to be something done with it. This isn't me like saying punish Atletico Madrid. But I'm saying though, if we're continuing to still talk about racism in the game, and obviously I don't know, this isn't necessarily a racist attack because I think um whatever the motive, I think the motive is just people being tired of I think some of the special treatment that Real Madrid, or at least they feel Real Madrid receives. I think obviously Vinicius has been always like the first person they look at when they talk about people that complain and all those things. And it could be also where Vinicius even takes jabs to the country of Spain, where he says that they shouldn't be hosting a World Cup. And I mean, for a fan base to, and I'm not trying to throw all Atletico Madrid fans into this group, but obviously this specific group of Atletico Madrid fans, for them to want to attempt to do this and expecting for them to not have any fallout from it, it was ridiculous. And I mean, a lot of the Atletico Madrid players and Diego Simeone said that they don't deserve to be in that stadium, and you know I'm sure we'll probably talk about this next week when there's more information thrown in there. But yeah, this has to be the sign for La Liga that they have to do something because it especially where you have these black players, um they might not want to be in this league, and then that's gonna lose a lot of players that want to play in this league because do they feel safe? And they're probably not, and they'll probably go to other leagues and other clubs that will make them feel safe. if the fans are able to do something as intense as they did in this game against Atletico Madrid. The game did eventually play on, obviously ended with a 1-1 draw, but yeah, I think that that's something that the Spanish Federation needs to be discussing right now and try to figure out how to uh prevent another incident similar to that to happen.